And maybe it's not worth it.
Mike, everything's worth it. Why don't you tell me what you're talking about?
Tell the story, man.
So I have an upcoming class that I've been teaching for quite a while, and it's a pretty thorough and lengthy class. So we've always had difficulty, not always, but we sometimes have difficulty filling it.
Mhm.
And especially now, companies are cutting back on training. People are reluctant to make long-term commitments and stuff. So it's with one organization. And so what I suggested was bringing two different organizations together to offer this class. Doesn't sound very innovative, but the politics, the logistics, the simple trying to get these two people on the phone at the same time, like that's how difficult this has started off. And so I'm very curious to see how it goes in the next month or so. But bringing creativity to an environment that is intended for success, right? Trying to be
Right.
innovative, coming up with new ways to do things so that everybody's successful.
You know, Mike, I'm sorry, John, go ahead.
No. I'll jump in right after you.
I'm also wrestling with this because, as you know, I do a lot of workforce development, a lot of training with different workforce development agencies. I'm not going to name who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've got a better chance of standardizing pickup trucks in Texas than you do getting some of these agencies to work together because they they serve radically different masters.
That's it right there.
And they're funding facing, so they'll face their funders' purpose and initiative, and the willingness to collaborate is limited by the blinders that they have in relation to some of those different things that pull on them as far as demands go.
That is about as politically well that you can say that, because I might have used a few more harsh words.
Johnny, the Californication of the Boston kid.
There you go. There you go.
Thank my wife.
Zen Den is in the house.
Thank my wife. Thank my wife.
Yes, I pray for her every night. Anyhow, no, Dennis is right on board here, or right in line here with the truth, and that is all these different agencies that you're dealing with all have different drivers, and they don't really care about you or your clients. They care about meeting their drivers, and the end of the story is trying to get them to come on board with something that makes sense to everybody except for them and their metrics, is sometimes futile, you know?
And
Well,
I'd make the argument that take it outside of the training environment and take it to government, take it to healthcare, take it to manufacturing,
right.
and it's that whole benchmarking idea. It's the whole collaboration idea. I've worked with companies and made suggestions. Hey, look upstream and look downstream and see who you can partner with.
That's right.
To bring a better value to your customers.
So think about this. I mean, for many years, and some of our very early projects that were the most successful were collaborative efforts in the supply chain.
That's right.
And we made enormous savings for everybody. Everybody won on these programs, but it was a single funder, and the single funder had a singular idea that this was going to be a collaborative process, and we had to do it in a consortium model. And when that was the case, it always worked. You know, we never had a failure in any of those collaborative and consortium models when it was a singular funder, and the funder was all about dealing with the supply chain and making that happen right.
Yeah, but dude, it was sausage making.
It was sausage making. It wasn't easy, but it was still successful.
It was super successful, but look, man, if we were doing supplier development for a major program, who would fund these types of initiatives, right? It was usually Prime that would fund it, or some sort of agency that would fund it. If we had 12 suppliers, John, how many of us would go out there over a 12-month period to try to influence 3 value streams on one vessel, let's say?
Yeah, we did have a pretty deep team to make that all happen.
But how hard was that? That was not easy, dude.
No, it was not easy. It was not easy. It took a tremendous amount of our project management skills to put together a good calendar, who was going where, who was the right fit for the right clients or the right suppliers in that particular case. And in some cases, those value streams were multiple facilities deep. I remember one that was in the initial client was in Massachusetts, but the end of the value stream ended up in Pascagoula, Mississippi.
I had one ended up in Barbados. I was there for 2 weeks. It was awesome.
That's right. I missed out on that one. I'm still upset about that.
Oh, dude, it was phenomenal. So, Mike, I think that your reflection on your innovation for the week about collaboration is something that everyone can relate to.
Yeah, and it's a great idea. I mean, I really highly recommend that you do it. Just understand what your funders' requirements are, and if you can get everybody in alignment, roll with it. But the hard part is going to be getting that alignment.
So I have a couple of agencies that are cooperative. If you want to talk about it, I think you and I have already talked about this, but I think it's important that Johnny said, we call that the customer's tough problem. And if you understand their tough problem and what their measures of success are, oftentimes you can find the synergy that might be in alignment. And I think right now with certain things like the employment training panel in California, the model for the structure of how the whole thing works was never intended for a post-COVID reality. So I'm actually scheduling. Yeah, it's not just wasn't. So I'm starting to schedule new appointments. I have 2 people ready for the 5S challenge. And I think I'm glad we're all working on different pieces of this puzzle with regards to how to innovate and be ready for Industry 4.0. It takes small wins to create, the big picture vision of what you think you can really accomplish.
I think getting people aligned with that big picture, seeing where they fit inside of that big picture, is also the key. The awareness factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, Johnny, what were the 3 questions you taught me to ask every person when I went into a new facility to introduce myself to everyone?
Oh, I'm not sure if we're going to hit the same questions, but what I think what you're asking me is, how do I know what to work on next? How do I know when I'm done? And how do I know that I'm right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and it's essentially the universal thing that any worker wants to know. I don't care if they're in an office environment or on the shop floor, anywhere. Everybody wants those questions answered because they want to be successful.
And I'd make the argument that there are 3 different questions that some people want answered. Are you single? Do you have a job? Will you go out with me?
No, I guess so. I'm not sure. And no. All right, boys.